So what happens when two third-generation Arizona women authors who are passionate about their state start talking about experiences, insights, and memories of different places? They don't stop talking. They write a book, and then they start a podcast. Welcome to Celebrating Arizona with Julie Morrison and Lisa Schnebly Heidinger. Grab your favorite drink and settle in. We're celebrating Arizona, going everywhere from A to Z. And we're off.
So welcome back, everyone. Julie Morrison is hunting jackalope, and I'm excited because I get you to meet Laura Terech. And Laura is how I have gotten to be part of the AZ250, which, as you all know by now, because we talk about it every week, is United States' 250th birthday and Arizona's part in it. And because I frequently at the end of a show, we share something we wrote, but in this show, because Laura is here and is executive director, right?
Correct, yes.
Of AZ. Everything I write, all the spots, all the everything about that is what today will be my reading at the end of the show. And I'm glad we get to go over some of this. And I'm actually glad to learn a little bit more about you. We had a lovely breakfast at the Hermosa Inn, and I learned some about you, but not a tremendous about you. So if you don't mind going a little farther back than AZ250, I know that you were was it kindergarten teacher?
I was a kindergarten teacher, yeah.
Before government. What was the path to kindergarten teacher and to government?
Oh, a circuitous one, as so many things are in life, and what a beautiful journey it's been. I never saw myself becoming a teacher, and I never saw myself becoming a politician, but sometimes these things happen. My undergraduate degree is from the University of Arizona. I got a degree in art history, and then I went to New York for graduate school.
That.
Yeah.
That's what Sedona's in. Someday I need to get you guys together, and I'll listen a lot.
Art is such a rich part of our lives, and I loved it so much. So I went to Syracuse for graduate school and got to really experience snow for the first time. And I loved academia, but I just found that it wasn't for me. What I did discover through that process was that what I really responded to was teaching, because I was a teaching assistant, so I had 4 undergraduate art history sections that I was able to instruct. And I really loved that piece of it. So I came back to Arizona. I got my master's degree in education from Arizona State. And then I went to teach kindergarten in a Title I school district in the West Valley.
Oh, how nice to do Title I.
Yes, yeah. We had such a great school and great kids, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I was sort of inspired to get more involved in my community when I was teaching kindergarten. One day I had 36 kids on the rug in front of me, which is way too many.
That's a huge class. I have friends who taught kindergarten with like 18 kids.
Oh, that sounds like a dream. Every year that I taught, I never started the year with less than like 32, 34 kids. It was so much. But so they were all sitting in front of me on the rug, and I'm reading them a story, and I hear this terrible crack from above, and I look up at my ceiling, and I just thought, oh my gosh, that's coming down. And sure enough, it was. So my ceiling collapsed over my kindergartners as I was teaching, and thankfully I was able to jump up and shield the kids, so I was the only one injured. But I was just so struck by this is the state of education in Arizona right now, and so that inspired me.
Schools.
Yeah, and so that inspired me to get more involved in my community, which eventually led to me running for the State House of Representatives.
Well, before you move on,
oh yes,
how badly were you hurt? What happened?
Not too bad.
How do you protect 13 kids or 36 kids?
Oh gosh, so it was those big white foam core panels. It was 2 of them, of the big ones, that came down. And I was able to just sort of stretch myself out, and so they hit my back, and then I kind of rolled them off. And then I am not a coordinated person whatsoever. I mean, I famously can't even clap on rhythm. My children used to say, Miss T, you're embarrassing yourself. Please stop. But
I never would have known. Go ahead.
The 2 panels came down, and then the metal framing that held them in came down right after it, and I was able to reach out and catch that. So that cut my hand.
Now
and
that is too coordinated. That's crazy coordinated.
That's, it's like the adrenaline with, Mama Bear, like protecting the kiddos. I mean, I would have done anything for them, but thankfully I was able to catch that. And, I had to get a tetanus shot and everything. No stitches, thankfully, but it was certainly a frightening experience and just remaining calm for the kids. And, oh, okay, that happened today. um,
Gosh.
yeah, but that
Literally,
certainly
the
made
roof
an
caved
impact
in.
on me. Yeah, yeah. And it's funny when I went to the state capitol, the every time it rained, we would have some sort of leak in the building, and so my office ceiling also came down. Not when I was in it,
No.
but people said we need to watch our heads when we're around you, Laura. So,
That is weird. My mother was almost always seated at the same table at a restaurant when she went in. And she thought that was true of everybody. And I'm like, no, you're the only one that happens to. And I was attacked 3 times jogging on a Sunday morning. I was never raped, I always won, by a guy on a bike coming up behind me. Once in North Tucson, once in Central Tucson, once in Phoenix.
oh,
And I thought,
Lisa, that's
what is this?
scary.
So, but you have ceilings fall on you.
Apparently, yeah.
Man, may it start at 2. May there be no third time a charm.
Yes, let's hope so. Yeah.
Lord. So, how did that translate to you running for office?
Well, I think that, one of the beautiful things about the state legislature, there are 90 members there, and they all bring different perspectives and different backgrounds and different paths that led them there. There aren't that many educators there. It kind of ebbs and flows. When I was there, all 4 members of the Minority Party Education Committee, we were all teachers, and so they called us the Teacher
Nice.
Caucus.
Oh,
And I think it's helpful. I think it's really helpful to have people with that lived experience who've taught in classrooms, helping to shape the policy that guides our state. So I decided to run for office and I represented Scottsdale and Paradise Valley. It was an absolutely incredible, wild experience. I met the love of my life at the state legislature, which was a really beautiful gift. And then I decided ultimately that I really liked focusing on bringing people together and celebrating what makes our state and our country work and how special all of that is. And so I'm thrilled to be where I'm at now, but it was just the honor of my lifetime to serve.
I would cover, I was a TV reporter for some years, and covering the legislature swearing in just gave me chills every time. And I would look at those 90 people, or 60 and 30, and think, what must that be like? I wanted to run so bad. I still haven't given it up. But as you know, the clock is always ticking. But you did it. You did it. You did it. You did it.
Oh, it was such a special moment being sworn in. I find the House chamber to be very beautiful. Now, what's special about it? When I was sworn in, they have murals of the Grand Canyon on either side of the House chamber, and it's sunrise to sunset. And then the carpet at the time, they've since changed it. It was this beautiful turquoise blue, and it
I
was meant
love
to, yeah,
that.
it's a very stark gray, we'll say now, but it was meant to evoke the Colorado River. And so they wanted lawmakers to feel that you were sitting at the bottom of the Grand Canyon making laws for the entire state. And so there was not a single day, even on the worst days, that I walked into that chamber and I didn't feel that sense of reverence and appreciation and honor of what an incredible gift it is to represent your community, and it just made me fall in love with Arizona even more.
How gorgeous. I never knew that about the murals and the river.
And when they tore that
Wow.
carpet out, because they always do work in the interim, after a session, Siney dies for the year, wraps up for the year, they always, do upgrades and things like that. And so they changed that carpet over after my first year. And I happened to be there and they had these little tiny scraps. And I said, can I take 2 of those scraps? And the sergeant at arms
Good.
let me. And so I still have a little piece of that
Good. I'm
carpet.
so glad.
Yeah.
Isn't, that's funny because Arizona being the Grand Canyon state, I always find it, I don't know if ironic is the right word, but that for years, and maybe this is no longer true, no matter what district you ran in, you could win just by getting your valley voters to vote for you.
Mm.
And yet, the places that make Arizona Arizona Monument Valley, the cactus, the desert, the canyon, the peaks, Sedona. Nobody lives, we all live here. And it seemed like this is really wrong somehow. But I'm glad that they were, at least at some point, trying to bring the scenic beauty into the governing.
Yeah.
That's lovely. So were you in the Secretary of State's office before executive director, or did that happen simultaneously?
It happened simultaneously, and this project came up, and the secretary and I had worked together for a number of years, and I knew him quite well, and the chance to change branches, move from the legislative to the executive was appealing. The same thing. I mean, I think it's important to approach these things with reverence. And when I drive to the executive tower, it is just never lost on me that, wow, I have an office in the executive tower and I get to be a part of this historic event. And just really living in gratitude for that makes
I
it very
love that
special.
you love that. There used to be a woman, so I was on the Centennial Commission
Yes.
long, long ago. And one of the women who was pretty highly placed was tough. And I was doing the Centennial book. I wanted use of pictures. She was Library and Archives. I wasn't allowed to use Library and Archives pictures. Thank God I got to go to other places and get photographs. And so we didn't have a cordial relationship. But one day I was following her up the stairs and I said, how often when you climb these stairs do you think about the fact that your footsteps are echoing Governor George W.P. Hunt? And she stopped and turned around and said, every time.
Mm.
And I thought, proving no one is all good or bad. I love that she cared about that.
Yeah.
And I want all of our legislators to be exactly as you were, to feel that, not, oh, I'm getting more powerful and I'm going to get even more power, but I get to serve this amazing state.
Yeah. Something that they had done the year before, because I was a guest of a lawmaker, so I got to be there for the swearing in the year before I ran.
Oh,
And they had looked at who had sat in those desks in years previous. So when the lawmaker came in to get sworn in, they had a little paper on their desk with the list of everyone who had shared that
really?
desk. And I wish they did that more, because the message behind that is, yes, you won, and yes, you're wonderful, and yes, you're special and talented. This seat doesn't belong to you. You're filling it, and that's very wonderful, but this is a seat that belongs to all of us. And looking at it from that perspective was definitely helpful for me.
That is beautiful. And I hope over time, Arizona can recreate the collegial cooperation that, and Burton Barter was secretary, it was chairman when Bruce Babbitt was governor, and some of us in the press pool thought, Burton Barr, Bruce Babbitt, if you've got that, nobody else has to get along because they're the two with all the power, and from opposite parties. And I remember interviewing Deacon Cini one time as a reporter and him saying, I don't like the way people aren't getting along so much anymore in politics. When I was in the Senate and Sandra Day O'Connor was in the Senate, we worked across the aisle. We would go for Mexican food and work. And I thought, see, this is what we want. And Mo Udall and Barry Goldwater making the CAP happen. And I've been told now by Republicans that if they are seen talking to a Democratic member, their own party votes them out. So I'm hoping for a swing back to the middle so that I can, because what I want to do if I ever get to run is sponsor a bill with every single member of the body. Because I believe that we have so much more in common than we disagree on. I think most of us want so many of the same things.
Yeah, it's such a
So
strange environment right now, and I think exactly what you're talking about is so important. And I think the 250th coming up is a unique opportunity to do that, because it focuses so much on, well, we've made it to 250 years since the Declaration of Independence, And what do we want for the next 250 years? And what does patriotism mean to me? And what does it mean to you? And how do we honor this moment and commemorate this moment? And it's something that I know a lot of people will be talking about. I think it's not on a lot of people's radars just yet, although I see it tick up and up and up and up every month as we get closer to 2026. And I hope the word semi-quincentennial is something that starts to roll off people's tongues just as easily. I mean, no one had heard the word bicentennial, 4 years before, or a year before 1976. And so hopefully they'll get to know semi-quin as well.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect place to break because I want to talk now about AZ250. So we'll go to a break and then we'll come back and get into AZ250. Part of the AZ Passport 250, the Sanguinetta House, is nestled in the heart of Yuma, but inside the gate, you feel transported to Europe. Called the Merchant Prince of Yuma, E.F. Sanguetti opened a string of businesses across town and created a palace with both a rose garden and a cactus garden, lush, ornate architectural detail everywhere. And it's a great place to book an event, and if not, at least go see it next time you're near Yuma. And we're back. And the first time I met you was at the kind of kickoff event of AZ250. And now I can't think of the two words. It was a beautiful ceremony on Paul Revere Day.
Mm-hmm. 2 lights for tomorrow.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. And that was your first big rollout, right?
Yes. Yeah. April 18th, the 250th anniversary of Paul Revere's ride. We held an event at the Capitol, and it was really beautiful because we were marking that moment, but we were also really wanted to think about, well, what did Arizona look like in 1776? Because it was different. We weren't a state then, but that doesn't mean that history wasn't being made here and that people weren't living here and making history. So we brought on this wonderful group to do a land acknowledgement, but also sort of explain why we do those, because I know there were people in that audience who maybe hadn't heard that before. So honoring all of the people in history that make Arizona special is what we tried to incorporate with that event. We did get rained out, which was,
But not till later. A lot of good stuff happened.
Yes. Yeah, I think my favorite, we had the British general consul come, and he was just hysterical and very gracious about, speaking to his exes, I suppose. Yeah. So it was a really neat event.
And the gentleman who was declaiming the Paul Revere's ride, I don't remember what group he was with, but that was fun. And the women who were doing the tatting of the lace. And boy, there have been a lot of interesting careers over the course of the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And you were also raised in Arizona, correct?
Mm-hmm. I was, yeah.
So I did the history of Arizona land. It's supposed to come out, I think, this year. And one of the things that got my back up a little bit was doing the research for it and reading that when the Mormon battalion basically formed, because the Mormons thought, hey, if we have a group and the government basically teach us how to have an army, we're going to be better able to protect ourselves. So that's how they formed. They came across when the first Southern Arizona Road was being put into place. And one of the guides on that trip was Jean-Baptiste Charbonnet, a.k.a. Sacagawean's son. And I thought, all right, I sat through Arizona 4th grade, and they never mentioned this. And we would have been excited about that. Why didn't they tell us about that in 4th grade? There was, and I'm older than you are, there was a sense when I was coming up that history started in 1776 on the East Coast, and it gradually came westward with the white people. And we all went, okay, because we didn't know. And then as I got older and found, I was at Kagan in Tucson doing the Arizona Trail special, when I found out that the group of Presidio Tucsonans had raised, I want to say 46 pesos to send to the King of Spain, to send to the patriots on the East Coast, that Arizona was part of the Revolutionary War. They didn't tell us that in grade school either. So part of what you're doing is trying to fix that, aren't you?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was just at the Tucson Presidio, gosh, last week, a couple of weeks ago, and they were commemorating the Daughters of the American Revolution were commemorating that event with a historical marker, and it's such a, I think, wonderful opportunity to look at those bits of history that maybe we've not studied closely enough, or recognizing those parts of our history that shape us.
And the braid of cultures, the
Mm.
Spaniards, the Mexicans, whether they are indigenous and Spaniard or something else, the Mormons kind of coming in from the north, all of us were here. All of us
Hmm.
were doing that. And I remember writing the Centennial book and finding out that Barry Goldwater, you probably know this, had been a ring bearer on the day we became a state because the couple wanted to get married in the state of Arizona. And he was four, and
Oh
they made
my
them hang around for like
goodness.
4 hours. And I could picture this little boy in his velvet knickers just driving everybody crazy because any 4-year-old boy would have been.
Oh.
And yeah, and I love that. But it was everybody making Arizona, and I wondered how many Arizonans of various ethnicities and races had no idea anything had changed that day.
Hmm.
How would they know?
Yeah.
And I would almost guess the majority wouldn't know.
Hmm.
And the prospectors out in the field, the people on homesteads, the tribes, how would they know? Do you know when they found out? Kind of like a Juneteenth?
Gosh, I don't. That's a fascinating question. And certainly Arizona's history, the sweetheart state. Every Valentine's Day, that's what I think of first
Oh,
is statehood day rather than Valentine's Day.
I do too. And when I was in third and fourth grade, my mother, who was not interested in history at all, but fortunately was interested in design, said, "Why don't you use the fact that Arizona became a state on Valentine's Day?" So we outlined the map and put a little foil heart on Tucson and put doilies, and I won. So I did a variation on that theme the next year, and most of my life, statehood day has been way more important than Valentine's Day. I was never lucky in love, and I was almost always not boyfriended on Valentine's Day. And then even when Tom and I got married, by then you don't care. If you're in love, you don't need Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
statehood day is so much bigger. And I still love that it was the 50th anniversary of the Confederate statehood day.
Mm.
Because I think if we can embrace all of our identities and contributions, that's just better. I
Mhm.
mean, Lincoln could have picked any day of the year. And I think to me, the fact that he chose that day, and I could be making it up, but it seemed like something Lincoln would do to try to re-knit the nation
Mm.
and to let everybody matter.
Oh, I love the way you said that. Reknit the nation. But there is so much history to tell and so many stories to share. And one of the things that we're going to be doing, our big project is the traveling museum. So we're going to pick up Arizona's replica Liberty Bell, put it on a vehicle. We're going to have an exhibition. Part of the vehicle will be focused on the founding and the ideals that we hold so dear, and then the other will be focused on Arizona past, present, and future. And what's really neat about this, I mean, so many things. We're going to visit all 15 counties, go to libraries, parks, schools, city spaces, but this is the last time that Arizona's replica Liberty Bell will be mobile, because when we bring it back to the Capitol, after it's out on tour for a couple months, ideally we're launching Statehood Day. When it comes back, our friends at Sun Construction are going to be installing a permanent copper, just beautiful, stunning base for that bell. Now, a lot of people think those bells date to the bicentennial, but they're actually older than that. It was a savings bond drive in the 50s. And so the US government went to the original foundry in France that cast the Liberty Bell, and they had 56 or 57 made. I mean, one for all the states and territories, and then I think there's an extra floating around out there. But every state has one, and there's a gentleman who's made it his mission to photograph each bell and tell stories about it. I'll have to dig up that website because the story of these bells is so fascinating. I mean, some states have drilled a crack into theirs, other states have
Oh,
painted a crack.
interesting.
So many of them, and this surprised me, have almost like a cage around the bell, so it makes it a little bit harder to see. Arizona used to have a cage, if I remember correctly from the photographs years ago, but we don't anymore. There's only one that's hanging. That's Texas. They have it hanging out in the Texas A&M Rotunda, I believe. And there, oh, it's just
Interesting.
fascinating. And there was one, I feel like it was New Hampshire or Delaware, I can't remember, but they had it sort of sitting on a little roundabout outside their city hall, and it was hit by a car. But it seems to be fine. So,
Holy boy, talk about the person you don't want to be. The one who mowed down the Liberty Bell.
well, I think about, the pure hunks of steel that were 1970s era cars. Those two things together, that must have made quite a clang. But this is a Liberty Bell that people can touch and trace one of my favorite things to do is, the trace the letters, the embossed letters around
Like a
it. And
brass rubbing kind of thing.
yeah, and take photos with it. And so I can't wait for Arizonans to be able to interact with that bell up close. There are so many people that never choose to or have the opportunity to visit the state capitol and see it. So we're going to bring the state capitol to them.
You know what? Pause right there. We're going to take a very quick break and then we'll come back and talk about that trip because that's pretty fun. Some museums gloss over times before European settlement, but the Verde Valley Archaeology Center focuses on the Yavapai Apache family life from the 11th to 14th centuries. There are two special exhibits visiting that you can see: space rocks, meteorites from ASU collections, also art from a local painter, Paul Dyke. He grew up among Plains Indians, and Eddie Basha, strong Arizonan, civic leader and art collector, was an avid collector of his works. These are all part of Passport 250 Arizona. Okay, so we're back. And before we go on with the fact that, yay you, every single county is going to be part of this, I'm fascinated by the idea, and I'd never heard any of that, that everybody's bell is treated differently. And I kind of love it that in a world of franchises, each state still gets to be different
Yeah.
and has an identity. Some more than others, probably, but that's a lovely, lovely thing.
Yeah.
So every county gets to play. And how do are yours? I'm sure you're still burning the who gets to see it, how you get it there, because some counties are pretty doggone big,
Yeah.
and you can't hit every town in every county. There's got to be some discernment.
Yeah, and I've been so thrilled because I've yet to talk with a single city or entity organization who doesn't want to be a part of the tour. People are really excited about this. So unfortunately, we won't be able to stop as many places as we would like, but I am thrilled to announce that we just signed our contract with the vendor who's going to be doing all of this. They are wonderful.
Yay!
They specialize, I mean, this is a highly specialized project and this is what they do. So we're super excited to work with them and get that vehicle. It will be wrapped. I'm excited to see what that looks like, but we'll definitely
Oh,
have an image of
yeah.
the bell on that. We'll want to give a big, big thank you to Banner Health. They're our founding circle member because we don't receive any state funding. So all of the public programming that we bring is a result of Arizona community partners marking this moment. So we're in the process now of combing through the interest forms of the folks who have submitted entries so far and figuring out the best route through the state where we can reach as many people as possible. And every stop will be unique and different. We're encouraging communities to put on events sort of around it, not only to increase traffic to the traveling museum, but showcase community resources. And so if it's, a family health fair or a pop-up family literacy event, farmers market, a free concert, each stop will have its own
Terrific.
feel and flavor. Something that we had talked about was designing a poster for every county that it stops in. And as I'm saying this now, I've just remembered that idea that was something we talked about some time ago. So we might incorporate art in that way too.
And that reminds me of when we were doing the centennial. Rose Mofford, our governor, and I separately, but united in the zeal, really wanted to set it up so that every month a different county, or in two cases, two counties, were the highlight, were really celebrated. Send them to the coast in the winter, send them to the north in the summer, and then make the little pins of each county. And so by the end, you have a state of little pins. And we weren't able to bring it to fruition. I probably am not going to find a way to bring it to fruition this time either. But at least each county gets a chance. And we hope that they're going to have some kind of local music act there the day, so that at least each county gets its time to be the museum, the Liberty Bell's home. And that's a lovely thing.
Yeah. Oh, we're so excited.
Well, any way I can help, sign me up, because it's such a marvelous thing. And I don't know if I've said to you, but I've said, and part of the podcast is that some of Arizona is really, really, really famous. Monument Valley is famous. Grand Canyon is famous. To some extent, the Saguaro is famous. And yet other places like Duncan, where Senator Day O'Connor grew up, and Pipe Spring up on the Arizona Strip, there are some amazing places. Fort Bowie, southeast, incredible places that are not famous. And one of the things I'm hoping to do and trying to do is make some of the less famous places more on about the beaten track, because there are so many treasures here, and that's what you're helping to celebrate, the treasures. 250, but more, because so there's 250, but then there's other categories. There's breweries, there's hikes, there's
Yeah, we have a couple different programs that are sort of part of that. For our Passport 250, it's 250 sites across the state. And I love what you said about the places that are maybe not as well known. And when we built the list of 250 places, our team started with 25. And we wanted to, get some really heavy hitters in that first round. So, of course, we had Lowell Observatory, the Heard Museum, sites that the Grand Canyon that people would really recognize. And then we opened it up for nominations, and we asked Arizonans, you know your community's best. Tell us what you love. Tell us what's special. And we have them spread across a number of categories. We have Dine 250, Cheers 250, those moments that invite that positive reflection. And one of those is the Wesley Bowen Plaza with all of the war memorials. Another is the site of the Japanese internment camps. So just providing that space for reflection. We also have Indigenous Travel 250, highlighting some wonderful sites across our state and our 22 federally recognized tribes. And then we'll have a whole nother section on our website that has like outdoor 250, so hiking, parks, fishing, birding, fitness, and so it's easy to theme these lists. But when we built that list of 250, it was so neat to see all the nominations come in. And I've lived in Arizona 40 years, and there were places that were right across the street from where I grew up, basically, in the same neighborhood. And I thought, I've never heard of this. And it was just so special to read all of those nominations. I mean, we got hundreds. It was hard to narrow that list down.
But that's wonderful that it was. That's terrific. Oh, good. Well, I love that you love the obscure as well as the famous.
Yeah.
And I will. So every week, two more are going to be featured on Celebrating Arizona, because now that I have your master list, I'm just going through and picking two every week to highlight. So that's what we're going to be doing for a while.
Well, and I love with Passport 250, there are so many connective threads. And what I mean by that is one of the stops on Passport 250 is Mother Road Brewing in Flagstaff. Now, Mother Road is going to be putting out an official Arizona America 250 beer in February. I just got a chance to look at the can art that they designed, and
fun.
It is so beautiful, and it's so Arizona and Americana, and I can't wait. That's going to be in grocery stores this spring. So something like that, and then we also there's this program called the Act One Culture Pass. And what it is, we want all Arizonans to be able to access these sites and enjoy them, and we don't want cost to be a barrier. So we partnered with Act One. They are absolutely incredible. So you can go into a participating public library and essentially check out a ticket to select locations across the state for free, the same way you check out a library book. So Lowell Observatory, for example, is on the Act One Culture Pass, the Sadovaki Museum, and I love that they do that. And so then that brings it all together, that we're making sure that Arizonans can experience this, but also highlighting our public libraries and encouraging people to visit their local neighborhood library. So it's just so much fun to bring these things together.
That is marvelous. You are so good at this, and one of the things that proves that is so many parts of it are win, 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 win. There's never at somebody's expense. There are so many things that are win, 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 and that is where we want Arizona to go, isn't it?
Well, I hope so. I hope so. And just being thoughtful about those things. And I think one of the huge blessings and benefits of having served the state and having been an educator is you really just learn so much. And so, like, for example, with the traveling museum, one of the things that I thought about, we're going to be stopping at schools. We want all kiddos, all Arizona kiddos, to be able to experience that. And when I was teaching, we had a fully self-contained classroom on our campus. So it was kids with very high medical needs often. Used mobility devices, had a nurse with them. And those students may not be verbal and may not be reading. And so what are some sensory experiences, things they can smell or touch to still make sure that they're experiencing the museum in some way? We also were making sure that the vehicle is fully retrofit to have an ADA ramp, a lift for people who use mobility devices. And just being really thoughtful about those things, because we all make Arizona what it is, and everyone should be able to participate. And that's been just such a joy of doing this work. We see this as an opportunity to tell a story that's uniquely of the West, and does so in a way that brings people together.
Marvelous. Well, throughout the course of the year, anytime you want to make sure that I talk about something on the show, let me know, and I will. Okay?
Well, I thank you, and I just, what a joy that you and I were able to connect. And I had never been to, we talk about these wonderful places in Arizona. I'd never been to Lawns at Hermosa Inn, and we had this beautiful breakfast there. The weather was so nice, and your love and passion for this state and your history and legacy with this state, it just was a perfect synergy that we were able to combine these things. And Lisa, I rave about this all the time. Sometimes I sound like a broken record, but doing this work, I get to meet people from all over the state who are doing incredible things that I never would have met otherwise, and we get to learn more about their work and their passion, and what a gift. What a gift.
Wonderful. Well, we'll get more of those on the show.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Laura, and thank you for everything you're doing for this.
Oh, same to you.
All right. Till next time.
We'd really like to hear from you about anything this show led you to think about. Write to us at celebratingaz.com. The wizard behind making a conversation into a podcast is Tom Heidinger. The music comes from Daniel Blatney. And I'm Dana Cooper.